My name is Armand, and for most of my marriage, I believed I was one of the lucky ones. I met my wife, Emma, when we were both young and full of dreams. She had a smile that could light up a room, and her laughter always drew people closer. From the first time we spoke, I knew she was different. She was funny, charming, and never afraid to speak her mind. That confidence was part of what made me fall in love with her. When we got married, life felt complete. We built a home together, shared our plans for the future, and supported each other through hard times. We laughed often, and I thought those laughs were proof of how strong we were as a couple. I believe that humor was one of the foundations of our relationship. I am not the type of man who needs constant excitement. I value peace, respect, and trust more than anything else. Emma brought joy and lightness to my sometimes serious nature, and I felt we balanced each other perfectly. She joked a lot, and while sometimes her jokes went a little too far, I never saw them as dangerous. But sometimes, what we think is harmless can cut deeper than we expect. One evening, a single joke she made in front of others changed everything for me. What she thought was funny, I could only see as disrespect. That moment was the beginning of the end of our marriage. Before everything fell apart, our marriage looked good from the outside. Friends often told us we were a perfect couple. Emma had this lively, playful energy that made every room brighter. She loved to laugh, and she loved making others laugh too. Her jokes came quickly, and she never missed a chance to tease me about small things. At first, I enjoyed it. I thought it showed how comfortable we were with each other. Emma was social, always ready to go out, meet friends, or host dinner parties. She liked being the center of attention, and most people adored her for it. I, on the other hand, was quieter. I enjoyed peace at home after work, reading a book, or simply sitting on the porch with a cup of tea. While Emma filled the air with energy, I balanced it with calm. Many people told us that this difference was what made us a strong pair, but our differences also caused small cracks. Emma's way of joking sometimes crossed lines that I didn't find funny. She would make comments in front of others that embarrassed me, though she always insisted she didn't mean any harm. For example, she once joked at a party that I was the boring one in the relationship. Everyone laughed, but I felt a sting inside. I brushed it off because I loved her, and I believed she never wanted to hurt me. Despite these moments, I never doubted her loyalty. I trusted Emma completely. I thought her words were only playful and nothing more. We had built years of love, trust, and shared memories. Why would a simple joke matter? That's what I kept telling myself. Looking back, I realized those little cracks were warning signs. I should have spoken up more clearly about how her words made me feel. Instead, I stayed silent, thinking love was enough to carry us through. But love without respect is fragile, and I was about to learn that lesson in the hardest way. It all started on what seemed like an ordinary evening. Emma and I had invited a few friends and our next-door neighbors over for dinner. The house was warm, filled with the smell of roasted chicken and laughter echoing from the living room. Emma loved hosting. She enjoyed arranging the table, pouring wine, and making sure everyone felt comfortable. I admired her for that. She had a gift for creating a lively atmosphere. We all sat around a table sharing stories, teasing one another, and laughing at old memories. The neighbor, Mark, was there with his wife. He was a friendly man, always polite, and we had shared barbecues and casual talks before. Nothing about him ever seemed unusual or threatening. As the evening went on, the conversation turned playful. Emma was in her element, making jokes and drawing everyone's attention. At one point, when the group was laughing about marriage and relationships, she suddenly said with a wide grin, "Well, even Mark here once tried me." The table went silent for a second before everyone burst into laughter. Mark laughed nervously. His wife gave a tight smile, and the others joined in as if it was just another harmless joke. I forced a smile too, but inside, something shifted. I felt a heavy knot in my chest. My wife had just made a public comment that, to me, suggested another man had been interested in her, or worse, that she had entertained the idea. Maybe she thought it was just a funny exaggeration, but to me, it was humiliating. The thought that people might believe even a fraction of what she said burned through my mind. I tried to stay calm through the rest of the evening, pretending to enjoy the company, but my mind was spinning. Each laugh around the table felt like another cut to my pride. I kept asking myself, why would she say that? What did she mean? Did Mark really try something, or was it just her twisted sense of humor? When the night ended and our guests left, Emma was cheerful, pleased that everyone had enjoyed themselves. She didn't notice my silence. To her, it was just another successful gathering filled with fun. To me, it was a moment when laughter stopped being safe in our marriage. That single joke would not leave my head. It haunted me long after the dishes were cleaned and the lights were turned off. That night, after everyone left and the house grew quiet, I lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling. Emma was sleeping peacefully beside me, but my mind refused to rest. The joke replayed in my head over and over again, each time cutting deeper. Even Mark once tried me. I asked myself 100 questions. Did she mean it literally? Was she hiding something behind that laugh? Or was it really just a careless attempt at humor? I wanted to believe it was nothing, but my heart didn't agree. The more I thought about it, the more I felt disrespected. It wasn't only about the words. It was the way she said them, in front of everyone, without any concern for how I might feel. I kept picturing the looks on our friends' faces, the nervous laugh of Mark's wife, the awkwardness in the air. Were they laughing at me? Did they think I was a fool? I had always believed that respect was the most important part of love. Trust can't exist without it. And yet, with a single careless sentence, Emma had made me question everything I thought was safe in our marriage. Part of me tried to calm down. Maybe I was overthinking. Maybe I was too sensitive. But another part of me, the part that values dignity, could not ignore the sting. Even if it was just a joke, why would the woman I loved choose such a humiliating line? I turned to look at Emma as she slept, wondering if she even realized how much she had hurt me. To her, it was probably nothing, just another playful moment. But to me, it felt like betrayal. It was not about whether the story was true. It was about the wound it left behind. That night marked the beginning of a storm inside me, a storm I could no longer hide. The next morning, I could not keep my feelings locked inside anymore. As Emma made coffee in the kitchen, I walked in and sat at the table. My face must have looked serious because she gave me a puzzled smile. "What's wrong?" she asked, handing me a cup. I took a deep breath. "Why did you say that last night? The joke about Mark." She blinked, then let out a small laugh. "Oh, that? Come on, Armand. It was just a joke." Everyone laughed. I didn't laugh, I replied quietly. Her smile faded a little, but she shrugged. "You're being too serious. You know I didn't mean it. Do you really think I'd ever do something like that?" "It doesn't matter if you meant it or not," I said, my voice tightening. It was humiliating. You made it sound like another man wanted you, right in front of me and everyone else. Do you know how that felt? She sighed and shook her head. "You're overreacting. You always take things so personally. Can't you lighten up for once? It was harmless." Her words cut me deeper. Instead of understanding, she dismissed my pain. The anger I had kept inside spilled out. "Harmless? Do you think it's harmless to make your husband look like a fool? Do you think it's funny to plant doubt in everyone's mind about us? If I made a joke about another woman, would you laugh?" Her eyes narrowed. "This is ridiculous. You're acting insecure. It was just humor, Armand. If you can't handle a little joke, maybe the problem is you." The kitchen grew cold. We stood on opposite sides, staring at each other, the silence louder than any words. I wanted her to say she was sorry, to show she understood, but instead, she brushed it off like it was nothing. At that moment, I realized something. This was not just about a joke. It was about respect, and I wasn't sure if she still gave me any. After that argument, things between Emma and me changed. On the surface, we went on with our daily routines, work, meals, chores, but inside, I felt a distance growing. The trust one once carried so easily had turned into a heavy weight of doubt. I began to notice little things I had never paid attention to before. Emma spent more time on her phone, often smiling at messages I couldn't see. When I asked who it was, she would simply say, "Just a friend," and quickly change the subject. Normally, I wouldn't think twice, but now every unanswered question felt like a hidden truth. She laughed at odd moments, even when she was alone in another room. Each time I heard her laugh, my mind went back to that night with the joke about Mark. Was she talking to him? Was there something going on that I had been blind to all along? Even her behavior around Mark felt different. When we saw him outside, she greeted him warmly, maybe too warmly in my eyes. They didn't do anything openly wrong, but suspicion had already poisoned my thoughts. Even an innocent smile felt dangerous. I hated feeling this way. I had never been the jealous type. I had always trusted Emma completely, but now I couldn't stop myself from analyzing her every move. I knew this wasn't healthy, but the seed of doubt she had planted with her words had grown into something I couldn't control. Nights became harder. I lay awake, imagining conversations she might be having, imagining secrets she might be keeping. I wanted proof, but at the same time, I feared what proof might show. It wasn't only about her anymore. It was about me, my pride, my self-respect. And slowly, I began to wonder if our marriage was already broken, even without clear evidence. The real breaking point came a few weeks later. Once again, we had friends over for a small gathering. I had hoped Emma would be more careful after our argument, but instead, she slipped right back into her playful ways. The evening was filled with chatter and drinks. Everyone seemed relaxed. Then, in the middle of a conversation about relationships, Emma smirked and said, "Well, you all know Mark just can't resist me." The room erupted in awkward laughter. Mark tried to laugh it off again, but his wife looked uncomfortable. My heart sank. It felt like a knife twisting deeper than before. She had chosen to make the same kind of joke again, after I'd already told her how much it hurt me. I didn't laugh. I didn't even speak. I simply sat there, staring at the table, feeling the heat rise inside me. My chest tightened, and I knew something had ended in that very moment. When the guests left, I didn't argue. I didn't shout. I didn't even ask why she did it. I just looked at her, and she looked back, confused by my silence. She probably thought it was nothing again, but inside me the decision was made. I realized that if my wife could ignore my pain so easily and repeat the same disrespect, then she didn't value me the way I valued her. It wasn't just a joke anymore. It was proof that the bond between us was broken. That night, I knew I couldn't live in this marriage any longer. The morning after that second gathering, I woke up with a heavy but clear mind. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at my coffee, and realized I had reached the end of my patience. This wasn't about being sensitive or insecure anymore. It was about respect, something every marriage needs to survive. I thought back to all the times I had tried to explain my feelings to Emma, hoping she would understand. Instead of listening, she laughed, dismissed, or accused me of overreacting. If she couldn't take my pain seriously, then what kind of future did we really have? Filing for divorce wasn't a decision I made lightly. I loved Emma deeply. She had been my partner, my friend, my everything. But love without respect is like a house without a foundation. It collapses sooner or later. And in my heart, I knew ours had already collapsed. That afternoon, I visited a lawyer's office. Sitting there, explaining why I wanted to end my marriage, felt surreal. Part of me wanted to run back home, pretend everything was fine, and continue life as if nothing had happened. But another part, the stronger part, knew I would lose myself if I stayed. When I told Emma later that week, she was shocked. Her eyes widened, and she laughed nervously at first, thinking I was bluffing. But when she saw the papers in my hand, her laughter died. "You're serious?" she whispered. "Yes," I said, steady but broken inside. "I can't live like this anymore." Her face showed confusion, anger, and fear all at once. She tried to argue, to say it was all just harmless humor, but my decision was final. For the first time in a long while, I felt a strange sense of peace. It hurt, but I knew I was doing what was necessary for my dignity, my self-respect, and my future. Looking back, I sometimes wonder if things could have turned out differently. If Emma had listened, if she had understood the pain behind my words, maybe we could have saved our marriage. But respect cannot survive on maybe. Respect has to be clear, constant, and mutual. For me, the end wasn't really about a joke. It was about the meaning hidden inside it. A partner should lift you up, not embarrass you in front of others. A partner should protect your dignity, not laugh at it. Emma thought she was being funny, but I felt she was tearing down the very foundation of our bond. Walking away was the hardest choice of my life. Divorce is never easy. It feels like losing a part of yourself. Yet, I knew I had to choose self-respect over silent suffering. Love without trust and respect is only a shadow. It cannot stand in the light. Today, I carry both sadness and strength from this experience. Sadness for the dreams we lost, but strength because I stood up for what I believed was right. Humor can bring people closer, but it can also destroy when it crosses a line. In the end, I learned that boundaries matter, even in love. She thought it was funny. I thought it was betrayal. And that difference was enough to end everything.